You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, share, all those things. Leave us a review. That'd be awesome. If you want to take the conversation beyond what you're listening to here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today, I think we're going to have a great conversation with Travis Kenny of Planet Roof. We'll say it that way. Brother? How are you, man?
Absolutely. I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. So Planet Roof is the new brand. What was the old brand?
A&T Roofing.
A&T Roofing, right? So we'll talk about the rebrand in a while. It looks awesome. Love the way you guys are doing that. Let's start with your story. How did you get into roofing?
So initially, for a long time, I was in construction in general. From when I was young, my dad was in construction. Initially started doing random handyman type projects. Was taken into door-to-door sales for Comcast, actually, by my now partner Adam, and really learned the sales game. And whenever that bubble was kind of bursting, he had a background, pretty thorough background in commercial roofing, residential roofing, and between both of our backgrounds, put that together and decided to move forward with roofing, which at the time I completely didn't realize what an industry it was.
It's amazing, right? Like the opportunity that's available in this industry is immense. To say it lightly, and so let's talk about your personal journey a little bit, because I know that you've really focused on yourself and your personal journey through time. Give us a little story. Tell us a little bit about kind of where you were back then and how you've how you've adapted and changed your life.
Right. That actually, what you're asking me, is a very strong core of mine. I believe in developing your business in general is developing yourself. So I, years ago, 10, 15 years ago, was a completely different person. Which I find funny. A lot of people in the roofing industry have some type of crazy background or something, been through a lot.
Yep.
Not really anybody I've met so far is just like, oh yeah, it was great. My dad handed me this business and I'm just doing good now. It's usually some type of struggle they went through, but I went through a lot of struggles personally in my life that, getting in trouble when I was young and stuff like that until I had kids. My oldest is 9 now. Getting in trouble and then kind of transitioned from there. Since then, in the past few years, I was 350 pounds at one point, down to 230 now. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do anything like that. It's kind of daily personal development. So, and now I'm in a pretty good spot. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. What do you think the spark was that for you to start down that journey?
The spark, I'm gonna say, it was my kids.
Yeah,
was just really just like realizing that I have other little human beings that are depending on me, and you start looking at yourself and thinking, am I somebody that I want them to look up to? Am I somebody that I think that they can, and it's slowly over time, just I keep looking at myself and thinking, because, life goes so fast. And I keep looking at myself and thinking, is this something that I want them to be seeing me do, to where when they're older, they can, I want them to respect the way they were raised and things like that. But definitely my kids, huge part of it.
And then in the journey, what did you start focusing on first? Was it your physical, your mental? What did you start focusing on first?
Yeah, I started focusing on first, when it comes to the self-development, which led to everything else, was definitely physically, was getting movement in my life. Not at the time, I didn't have so much of the diet or anything like that down, but just moving, like some type of movement. If you wake up and just get we're animals, we're meant to get our heart racing, and, so I think it's important once a day at least to be, have some movement.
Yeah. And then along the way, as things progressed for you, like, what were some of the places you found motivation? Were there any books that you were reading, or people that you were following, or where'd you get that?
Yeah, the huge spark. So the initial one was the kids, obviously, but the huge spark that really opened my eyes was going to the first roofing process conference. And Adam was we were both watching Dimitri and stuff on YouTube and stuff. And I never even knew even what a conference was. Like, in my mind, I guess if you don't really know what it is, you're just kind of like, that's, I'm not going to learn anything there or whatever. But going there, and those guys there that I met at the conference the first year, that I still to this day know and talk to, really sparked a huge. That was a few years ago, and that was whenever it really kicked off and made me think, wow, look at these guys with these backgrounds just like me, doing these big things, and very admirable people. And it just definitely was a huge spark.
That's definitely something that's great you say that. I know Dimitri, and we go to his conference. We'll be there this year. We were there last year, and it's and I've been doing conferences and trade shows for a long time. I speak at a lot of them, and man, it is something to see yourself in someone that's doing better. Is that a good way to put it? Right?
Absolutely.
Right? You're like, wow, because I think we all have limitations as we're, especially, if you have struggles in your life early on, or, come from from working class neighborhoods, or whatever you want to say, and that you're like, wow, really, could I really get there?
You have to see it be done.
You have to see it be done sometimes, right? It's that, what was the guy that broke the 4-minute mile? I can't remember his name, but it was like, no one broke the 4-minute mile for until the 1960s, and then this guy breaks the 4-minute mile, and then within a month, there's 10 other people that do it, right? It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to do that, but that's a lot of times what we need that vision of what we could be. So now you've sat down with some of these people, you had lunch with them or dinner with them, and you know what I mean, at the conference. And you started realizing, wow, there's more here. So before that conference, what were you guys, what were you happy with doing revenue wise, or what were your goals revenue wise, or whatever at that time?
Oh man, there's no shame in my game. I believe that anybody that's even just starting off, and if you're making a living for yourself, you can be happier than a guy making $10 million a year. But at the time, we probably did 800,000 in sales for the year, and I was geeked. I was like, wow, I'm making more than my dad does at the mill. I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? And A lot of guys will talk down, look down or whatever and think about somebody. Man, if you're making a living for yourself, if you're doing $800,000 a year and you're making a living for yourself, a decent living, you're killing it. You should be proud of yourself.
That's for sure. People get wrapped up in the numbers. And the numbers don't matter as much, right? And everyone's business is different. Not everyone has to have the same business. I know people that have done, $750, $1 million for 30 years.
Yeah.
Boy, they're happy, right? Yeah. They made a good living. They made a nice life for themselves and their family. Now they were their business. So, they were self-employed, not business owners, right? So separating that, if you want to be self-employed and do that, this is what it looks like. If you want to be a business owner, it looks a little bit different. And so you have to start making those changes. At that conference, you're like, wow, this guy's doing this guy's doing that. Maybe we could do that. What did you start thinking about then? Did you start transitioning to that business owner mindset? Like maybe I want to be a business owner versus self-employed. What was that? Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah. It was definitely, I started realizing how to delegate things and that it's okay to delegate things. And it's okay to trust other people to handle day-to-day things. And if I wanted to get out of the stage I was in, which was, like you said, just kind of more than owning a business, was just working for myself.
Yeah.
I had to start reading more books and working on my knowledge and looking at these guys who were a level up for me and realizing I need to start figuring out how to hire people and how to get smart people around me.
So one of the things you just said there was trust other people.
Yeah.
And that's tough, right? Yeah. When you're starting out, it's like you really have to trust that they're going to, do the right thing, get the work done properly, or be honest in the sales, conversation with a homeowner, or, there's a lot of things there. What were some of the things some of the struggles and lessons that you learned around that?
Some of the struggles and lessons I've learned around trusting other people, and to start with, is I'm kind of one of those people that is I like see the good in most people to where I kind of block out the bad sometimes. So I'm not the best at hiring. In a sense, I really need my partner's help with that. But where I've seen struggles is and now I realize that it's needed, but I've had, everybody, sales guys, screw me and go start their own businesses. Starting their own businesses is okay, but, stealing or screwing somebody isn't. Is just to really make sure that who I am putting around me or who I'm hiring fits my core values. And that's really part of, if they fit all my core values, the rest we can figure out. You know what I mean? Because that's important.
That's important too. We started implementing that. I don't know if you do this, but we do the EOS system in our business.
Yeah.
Traction is the book if anyone wants to read it. And one of the things that they have in the EOS system, the entrepreneurial operating system, is it's called a people analyzer. And you're analyzing your people not in relation to if they got their job done, but if they expressed or alluded to if in that, say, quarterly time frame that they were that they had acted within your core values.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, man, when we started implementing that, it was a different, like you're saying a little bit, it's a different way of looking at things. It's an easier way of of making sure, do you trust them? Well, are they acting within your core values? Because if they're acting within your core values, you could trust that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the process of you creating your core values, how did you get to them?
It was really a process, kind of sitting down and like really, and then reevaluating them, and kind of thinking, do these core values truly fit? Because you want to try to maybe think on a business level, but even personally, that what characteristics do I want somebody to have to be around me? You know what I mean? Because not everybody's for everybody. And you know what I mean? And even if it could be your friend, or you could see them out or something, or go golfing with them, doesn't mean they should be working for you. You know what I mean? So, it was just a process of really trying to analyze. And then we'd think we had them, and we'd realize that, like, no, this doesn't work because this maybe gives somebody an excuse to not do their job or something like that, which was one of the core values we took out.
Which one was that?
Balance. Because I believe you do need balance, but with our other core values, you're going to have balance. And you could have somebody say, I'm done at 3:00 today. I got this to do. One of our core values is balance. I need to go play this game or whatever. You know what I mean? And it kind of, while I do think everybody needs balance, I don't want to give anybody the excuse to,
That's an interesting one. That makes perfect sense. Like because that that is something that you want to strive for in your life, right? You want to have that balance, that work isn't everything, that, leisure isn't everything, right? There has to be a balance in there. But so understanding that in yourselves, you probably went, hey, I got my kids, I got this, I have to be balanced in all of the things that I'm doing. So that sounds like a good core value, but that's something it's a good thing for people to consider, is that your core values can be a living document.
Yes.
I hadn't thought of that, right? Like, it's like we put too much pressure on it sometimes. The first time we tried to put together core values, I was like, man, I overthink things. So I'm like, I'm trying to get everything so detailed and perfect. And, and maybe that's a good lesson there, is that, hey, this can evolve.
Yeah, right? Definitely. Because what we replaced it with was a situation, was positivity. And then which wasn't in, you could have all our other core values, but still not really be a positive person. I'm the type of person that I can't be around somebody who's just negative every day, because we all have problems. Not that I don't care about your problems, because I do, but I care about solving them. And people who are negatives tend to have an outlook on things that are just like, I don't want to solve it, I just want to tell you about it. You know what I mean?
I do know.
Right. I'm sure you do.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, and that's the, like, the words that come out of your mouth are really powerful, right? The words that you speak are extremely powerful, and speaking negatively without, like, I'm like that too. I want to solve the problem, and just there's too much of the negative speech or without a solution to me, and not working towards a solution. I always have have trouble with that also.
Yeah.
So now you went to the conference, you started seeing the vision, you're starting to put together core values. You came to the understanding that it's people that you're going to need, and trusted people around you. What was the next evolution in that?
The next evolution in that was realizing that, okay, we got the right people, and we really got a good team environment here. but is our name and brand attractive enough for people to even remember who we are? So that's kind of naturally from your question is just evolved into that's what happened.
Yeah. So that was the evolution into a more memorable brand. When did you realize, and how did you realize what made you realize that the brand that you had was not going to take you to where you wanted to go?
So beyond the fact of being called AT&T Roofing 90 times, what really made me think about it is we did a home show, and there's like 30 other roofers there. And I'm thinking in my mind, okay, I'm a customer, and I'm walking into this home show, right? And I got 30 roofers lined up that are all going to do the same thing for me. Not really, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Who am I, when I walk back out of that door, who am I going to remember and why? And that's what kind of sparked, and that sparked an ongoing conversation for months of just going back and forth and like really trying to hone in on, what we were going to name and how we were going to structure and make our new brand, build it.
Yeah. What were some of those main conversations? Name, colors, different things like that. What were some of the things that were important as you were having those conversations?
So definitely. So a very simple name that was easy to remember, that got kind of stuck in your head. Because I remember right here, every time we'd say something, I'm like, that doesn't just stick. That doesn't stick. And color-wise, everything to me, when it comes to marketing, needs to be something that whether somebody hates it or loves it or is partial to it, they're going to remember it. And that's kind of the aim we take at anything we're doing. So when it came to the name, that stuck out to me. That was like, okay, that's a really good name that sticks to me. And then color-wise, it was kind of a couple of the big brands we look up to actually really stick out, one of which is Apple Roofing, with the green, Monarch with the blue, and, not to bite their style, but we kind of evolved from the guys and people we look up to and like really trying to put together a brand that's like really attractive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had a conversation on this podcast with Dustin Beegler from Apple Roofing and about how they chose their brand. And it was, again, what you're talking about is right spot on with what what they did is something that's simple that people can remember. Right. Yeah. That was the first thing. They wanted it to be simple and memorable. Simple and memorable. And then from there, when they did their choice of colors, they're in Nebraska. And Nebraska, everyone in Nebraska is very red and white Huskers.
So right? Wait, it's funny you say that. We seen 30 roofers at a conference this year, and they were all red and white.
All red and white, right? So there's this so then to be unique in that, and what you're saying is, when somebody's walking down the aisles of that home show, right? What sticks out? What stands out? What's memorable? So the easy to remember name, and colors that kind of reflect that or make them think about that. And there's a thing. It's really the most expensive real estate or the most valuable real estate you can own as a business owner is mental real estate in your prospects' minds.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And so that's how you own mental real estate. You can't take up too much space. You got to be memorable, right? You got to be simple. It has to be, and so you guys did a great job with that.
Thank you.
And now, and I know from some of those other Pittsburgh roofers, I talked to some of them, and they're like, where did they come out of? They're just, and they notice it too, right? Like other contractors are noticing in your area, in your market. They're noticing. They're like, wow, they did a good job with that. Like, like now we got to worry about those guys. We
have awesome guys and companies in our market.
You got a lot of awesome companies in your market. I've interviewed a few of them, and you guys, you have and I love that there is a competitiveness, but a camaraderie also with a lot of the top contractors in the Pittsburgh area. So
definitely.
So that getting stuck in your head, man, that was the first goal. How long has it been since you guys transitioned with the new brand now? So
it's actually only been, and when I say this, I'm surprised, it's only 4 months.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is you're saying, like, these other guys are like, who are these guys? Who are these guys popping up? We've been around for 7 years.
Yeah.
And we're just now in 4 months. We've only been with our new brand for like 4 months, and people are like, oh, who are these guys? Who are these guys? It's funny. It's cool.
It's cool, right? Like their brand is kind of the biggest play you can make that it's hard to understand the impact that it will have. It's a strange thing. Like it's an investment. It's a commitment. It's scary. I'm sure that when you guys were going to do the brand change, man, I mean, how many I don't know this, but I wonder how many did you have a lot of conversations of, should we do this?
Yeah. So I'm the type of person, my partner is much more standoffish when it comes to any change or anything.
Yeah.
He was hit. I'm the type of person that's like I tried talking him into it for years, because I don't know why, I just knew that like it was the move to make. But we had a ton of conversations. Like even Dimitri told us since the first conference, Dimitri told us, this is what you guys need to do. Like he even would say AT&T sometimes. You know what I mean? So we had a conversation, many conversations with him back and forth on the phone, and he kind of even at the end, like we were just like, we have to. Yeah.
You have to. Yeah. So what have been, right? Because it's a new thing. What have been some of the challenges that you're seeing in this transition?
Some of the challenges, I guess you could say, is a lot of our old customers, or some people just are kind of wonder why you changed your name. Mm-hmm. And they're just, because for some reason contractors have a bad name with dumping a name or something like that. We're still the same business, you know what I mean, just using a different name. So that would be one, would be older customers, but really not many. Most of them, because we sent out emails to all of them saying, hey, we're not planning a roof. Most of them are like super excited. So that's not a huge issue. An issue I would say that we planned on was the initial little dip that happens from moving one name to the other. That really wasn't what I expected. It really wasn't much. And I believe just in the 4 months we've been doing it, we've made up for it. And for the simple fact that our vehicles barely brought us in, a lead here and there. Now we get a ton every week just from somebody seeing our vehicle. They were wrapped before. So negative sides, not many. Really? I
Not
mean, a
many,
lot of work. It was a lot of work, obviously, but
for sure. And that's a good one of the things is that you made it a touch point with previous customers.
yeah,
Man, anytime you can reach out to previous customers and talk, let them know
yeah,
that you still exist is probably a good thing. So that who knows, that might have turned into something like, we might need some work done or something like that,
yeah.
right? But now let's talk about the brand and in the marketplace, driving the trucks around. How has that, like you said, all of a sudden you guys are getting calls from
Yeah,
your trucks where you weren't previously. Boy, that's a big impact,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
Those reps are paying off.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew they would.
And
Just because they're color.
they do for sure. So 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 with the brand change now, everything is kind of in play. You guys are going forward. Planet Roof, you're starting to get more visibility in the market. But one of the things that you talked about when just in your personal transition and things like that was slowly over time. So, I think a lot of contractors get wrapped up in the short term and don't focus on the long term. When you guys are doing a rebrand and really, making the moves that you're making in your business, that you're turning the ship so you end up in a different destination,
Yes.
right? What in those small iterations over time, I think that's where people don't understand. They don't understand that that's what you just need to make small iterations. Sometimes it might be a big one like a brand change or something like that, but small iterations will get you to a completely different place. So now let's talk about marketing. Now that you're in this with the new brand, what marketing changes have you made other than just having better looking trucks, more memorable trucks?
So, a big marketing change to tee off of what you're saying with the slow process and implementing different things is exactly the approach we've taken with our marketing. Is there is no one answer. There is no one thing that's gonna fix all your give you all the leads in the world. It has to be a group effort, and it has to be many different things. So what we do is we focus on small areas. If we have a good area, I focus on really getting as many people in that area to see us as many different ways as possible, which is something that we weren't doing before, probably because I wasn't as confident in our brand. You know what I mean? And I think that's a very important thing that I've got from Dimitri was like, when you show up to somebody's house, or you want to be proud of the name on your chest or be proud of who you are. And now that we have that confidence, I'm confident to put ourselves out there to be seen by somebody 5 different times. And by the time they finally get a face-to-face with us, they're like, absolutely, I need an estimate because I see you guys everywhere.
Everywhere. It's like if you lose some weight and you have to buy some new clothes, you feel good about it, right? Or even just a new haircut sometimes, new shoes, or what I mean? Like you walk out a little bit differently. So the brand, the confidence behind it, might be felt by the consumer, but I don't know about if you know this about us, but or about me, but I wrote a book about being omnipresent in your market. Like that's what, like, you're speaking my language when you're talking about that being seen everywhere, man. Like the impact of that is immense. Everyone is looking for a magic pill.
Doesn't
There
exist
isn't.
for anything.
There are no magic pills, man. There are no magic pills. There is no just do Facebook ads. Just wrap your trucks. Just stick signs in the yard. Just do this. Just do that. Those brand impressions, we call them brand impressions in marketing, the amount of times that people see your brand, that reinforces their decision-making process, right? It builds trust, right? It's so impactful.
It's being done every day to us by huge corporations, but for some reason we want to act like there's, not a reason for it.
That's right. Think of like there are companies that, if you think of some of those large companies, right, it's all brand awareness, right? All brand impressions. You very rarely see an offer to buy a Coke.
Yeah.
Right? 10% off your Coke purchase. Come get one right now.
No.
It's just, maybe the local store is running a special on 12 packs or something like that, but not Coke as the brand, right? Not the brand Coca-Cola. They are just making you aware that they exist. And the more times they understand, the more times that you see them, that when you walk into that convenience store or whatever, that you can make a choice based on that, on the way that their brand is played out. But that's a good point, is look at what these big corporations are doing and implement some of that because that's what they do. Marketing budgets for these large corporations are enormous, right?
Yeah.
They're enormous. And as small businesses, a lot of times we're looking, at, well, what is my lead cost? And what is, and not that you don't want to look at those numbers, but there is a part of your marketing budget that may be very challenging to attribute to a specific number.
That happens every day to us, yeah.
Right? It's a tough thing. Have you done anything and made any changes in your sales process as in this time, or have you had that nailed down to a point that you really that you like it? Or
no, we definitely. That's the one thing, honestly, I can say the sales process. I learned from and was trained by, in my opinion, the best in the world guys I know, and our process is like great for our sales, and so that really didn't honestly change that much.
Yep. What do you do? What are some of those things? What are some of the things that you said that you've had great mentors in that you've dialed that in? What are some of the things that help you find success in that sales process? What are some things that people could implement that, like, if you implement this, you're going to see much better results?
So one main thing, and obviously this isn't going to pertain to everybody, but a lot of guys who are smaller just starting off, is you need to implement some type of, we use Owens Corning, like the roof in the bag. Your customers want to see what is going on their roof, whether they know what it is or not. And I explain that to them is whether hey, I go over this with everybody. I'm sure a lot of this stuff you already know what it is, but I like to just show you. People, regardless of all this, all the digital things we have, people like the touchy-feely, the closeness of, hey, look, this is a piece of wood, and this is what your whole roof's made of. And around this whole roof, after we tear everything off, we replace this metal here. And like, they want to see, and you're obviously not going to take them up on the roof and show them. So implementing some type of process to show them what you're going to do. And it's crazy how many times customers say, almost all of them I sit down with end up saying, wow, I learned so much.
Yeah.
And I tell them that's my key, is to educate. I quit focusing on sales and I focus on just educating a customer.
Educating, and that is, it's the consultative sales process, right? Like being a consultant to them, educating them, helping them understand why this roofing system is the better choice versus this roofing system for the situation that they have, for their needs, not for someone else's needs, not sales. But in an educational sales process, I've also seen sales reps that over-educate and undersell. How do you balance that?
Well, because at the end of the day, as much as I'm educating them, I also want to sell them, in the sense that I don't trust or know that anybody else is going to give you what we're going to give you. So it's also believing in yourself and believing in not only yourself, because a lot of times sales guys, they're not the ones putting the roof on. They're not even there sometimes.
That's right.
So you have to be confident in the team you have coming behind you. And if you're confident in that team coming behind you, selling is easy, because I want my customer to have the best of the best. And I really don't want to leave knowing that you're going to go with somebody else and you're not going to get the best product, the best service, and it's not going to be me and us taking care of you.
And that makes an immense difference in sales, right? If the salespeople believe in what they're selling.
Yes.
If there is any doubt in their mind, because a lot of times it's their name on the line along with your company, right?
Yeah,
because they're the person
calls.
sitting at the kitchen table. They may run in, when you're in a, in a local market, they may run into that family at the grocery store one day, or, you know what I mean? Or see them out to dinner and have to have an uncomfortable conversation. If the team that follows them is not performing up, at a high standard. How have you then? Now let's move on to that team and that production process. What have you put in place to ensure that you have and hold those high standards and on the production side of your business?
So, first and foremost is communication. We strive on being the best company in the world at communicating. We over communicate, and I teach my guys from the first appointment, to explain to our customers, because it also helps with the follow-up process, is I'm going to let you know now that we do absolutely communicate as much as possible with every step of the way. You're going to get a lot of calls, you're going to get a lot of texts and emails, and you're going to know what's going on. I have never had anybody call our office and complain that, hey, your guys are letting me know what's going on way too much. So the communication is number one. People want to know what's going on. If I had my roof being done, I want to know when it's starting. That's a big deal. Number two is documentation. They absolutely, on top of being communicated with, need to know what has happened so far, and it's not their job to document it, it's our job. They need to know what has happened so far, what's going on in the present moment, and what's going to happen in the future. And we have record of all of that. So those are the two major components in our production.
Yeah, that's a big point to make. Homeowners, property owners, not knowing, anytime they feel like they don't know is a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's when you leave a gap in their mind for assumptions. And if they're making an assumption that you're not taking care of them, that's a problem, right?
Yes.
And they have and then in that communication, you're also properly setting expectations. right? If they feel like they should be taken care of sooner, but you communicate, if you're communicating well, then, you know, you can balance that communication. How has that led, in that process, what has that led to in your business, you know, in terms of, you know, referrals or reviews and things like that?
We've created, and even before with our old brand, our production, which I believe is what's made us such a great company, is we were really slow starting off to make sure that our internal processes were right and that we were all doing the right things. So that has kind of morphed into creating the raving fans with a new brand and stuff like that. And that's what's kind of helped tremendously, because when you do what you say you're going to do and you really produce the results that you promise somebody, it's very easy to get somebody to, you know, to tell their friend or their neighbor or give you a couple referrals. I mean, it's a cakewalk if you do all the things right beforehand. If you're out just trying to get referrals and you're not producing the results you promised, then it's going to be tough.
So do you feel like you also have to ask?
Yeah, definitely. You're going to have some customers that are just like begging to tell people to call you.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, But how, you know, that happens. I mean, those come in naturally a lot.
Yep.
But you definitely have to be asking and letting them know that, hey, we do, like, we pay for referrals. You know, if they give us they give us a customer that ends up turning into a job, you know, on top of them believing in our brand and trusting us, what says I appreciate you more than giving them something. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So, but we do ask, definitely.
Yep. And making sure that they know that's another thing. I think, I don't know why contractors, you know, they don't as much. They don't ask for reviews. They don't ask for referrals. They don't, like, you're leaving so much money on the table in that process, right? You've done all the hard work of acquiring that customer, of doing a good job for them, and then you just let it go away, you know? Crazy to me.
What's going to drive them to, like, want to go knock on all their neighbors' doors and say, hey, did you see my roof? See how nice it looks? You have to ask them. They probably have a couple people they already know that need their roof done. But if you're not asking, and they probably think you did a great job.
Exactly.
If you're not asking them to tell the world, then people don't normally just do things. You know, there has to be some massive action.
You don't get what you don't ask for.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
You don't get what you don't ask for. So, you know, always ask. You still may not get the referral, but at least you put it out there, right? Or the review, or, you know, whatever you're doing. What do you think, Travis, the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's helped you guys find success in your roofing business? Greatest
insight is to just really be patient, and this may be off cue, but you know, a lot of guys are going through it and looking at the guys above them, and they're like really idolizing or chasing after this like next step. I would say just really be proud of where you're at even now, and while looking at the future.
That's great advice, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.